How are we all doing today? I'll have a little bit of a tinker around here. Anyway, this, as what I was saying earlier, the job lot I got off Fred. It's a 308S. Yes, 308S short blocks. Two were potentially saws, demo saws. This one in particular, it's been changed. Actually, no, they still run the sprocket. There's a cut, rightio. This one in particular, the top end looks to be AM. I can't, it might be OEM, but the piston looks brand, well, it's not this one, it's the other one. This one's been ran. You can see the wear on the piston, but no ignition, no flywheel, all that type of deal, no carb, anything. I just wanted it for the muffler, top end and piston, etc. There's another one here on the floor, same muffler. It's been drilled underneath. There's a few holes there. Wasp nests inside. This one has the carb block ignition wire hanging out. Flywheel fan and everything's over there. There is an ignition behind there. I can see possibly the trigger, no coil. There's no coil in there, there's something in there. S10 side cover, patch job, oil pump's intact, sprocket's got no wear on it at all, like it was probably connected to a saw, demo saw. You see them there, that's a telltale sign it's the Brazilian assembled saw. Possibly. It did come with a Magnalloy construction starter. It does have the little notch for the chain brake, but it's actually West German chain brake model. So it's got the Bosch ignition. I was thinking it was the SEM, all that type of deal. Mr. Stafford, if you watch this, he sent me that 55 flag for some reason. Only problem, I think this was the worst of the two. There was one with an orange flag. Scone Outdoor Produce. I used to live in Scone, Kelly Street. That's just near where I used to live. So if you're over this area anytime, you can pop in and grab it if you're still after it. It works. I don't need it. I haven't got a 55 or a 50. I've got a 50. White top. But it's still got the flag and everything. But that's the third one. So start off my 08. I completely forgot where I put the one from before. It's sitting right here, but oh, that's the chain brake. I've got a chain brakes starter like that one there. I'll just lift it up and show you. May as well, I'm talking about it. So got it off Lockie. It's missing a few. I don't care. But I still do need 2 08 starters for my 08 that I ripped it off the other day, and I can't remember where I put it, but this was the one, most complete one that came from Fred. It just didn't have a starter on it, and the fan was incorrect. See those 3 notches? This is for an electronic flywheel, i.e. that one down there. It was screwed to this, the flywheel on this, and when I put the starter on, I couldn't turn it because it was pushing against the fins. But I just had this running just before. I just put fuel in it, choked it. It's actually got something written, oh yeah, choke. But we'll see if she starts, and I'll show you. The spring on the throttle butterfly needs retensioning. I don't know why it revved like that just then. Oil pump works. The weight of the trigger is all that activates the throttle. Shuts the butterfly on that at the moment because I've got to retension the spring on the throttle, but I might change the carb, I don't know yet, but I just put fuel in it. 6 pulls I think with the choke on, and away she went. It had probably a cap full of oil sitting in the tank. That's how long ago it was ran. Anyhow, that's my little video today. 041 I got off him as well. Ran over. I don't know where it was ran over. It's clean snapped, clean snap through here. So that bit flops around. 2 lugs off the tank, snapped off at the back. Flywheel nut was robbed. I found another one. Pulls over nicely with not bad compression. I've got all the bits that it requires. I can see it does need the 031 upgrade clutch. If you don't know, I've mentioned it on, I've got 3 video things, 3 series, I think 3 or 4 series on YouTube on the 041s, sorry. So for people that don't know, the early 041s had the clutch shoe the material that stuck to the shoes, you know, the asbestos like brake pad material stuck to the metal part of the shoes. This one, I'm guessing, possibly had it on there years ago. I don't know what model it is. It's a late model one because it's got the steel badge like the 038. It's a late model. You see the gap between the clutch shoe and the drum. If you put an 031 or 032 clutch on there, that gap becomes smaller, so the shoe doesn't have to throw out as far. I've got two of my, so that's an 041 red top. Then I've got a Farm Boss next to it, another Farm Boss next to that, my restored, same year as this one I'm gathering, then another one next to it. That's another Farm Boss. Oh, that's right, that one's Trappies, that one there. So I've got 5, I did have 6, now I've got 6. Oh, I could say this one's another different variation. I'll stop this in a minute. This has an 040 style muffler. Doesn't have the proper port to match this muffler cover. It's got 4 fish gills pointing forwards. That's 040. 040 muffler. 041s had the 2 fish gills that shot the exhaust gases this way. At least I think. Anyway, but I got this for the heart of the saw. The carb, the intake block, which I've still got a spare of, I think. Muffler, crank, top end. Throttle linkage. Rear handles. This top one's all good. I don't have one with a black knuckle guard. Actually, my other one doesn't have one at all, the repainted one. Both the Farm Bosses have the black knuckle guard, but it's a different design to that. This one just AV ones, and AV rubbers in the lower handle are good. The top ones are good, but you can still get them. There's only one that you can still get at the steel shop, and that's that one there. And I've got a brand new one still. But it's all cracked and stuff, but ignition. Shizmin, it does fire. Doesn't sound very happy. Something's must be rubbing in there. The outside of the tank is still good, but the inside's where it was run over. She's broke right there. So, but I've still got a spare with the early log logo. I have a air filter cover from Trappies 041. We call it Trappies because that's where it originated. This one still has the stud in there, but someone's screwed in an incorrect screw here, and what's me call it, but it's actually an electronic top cover. It's the correct to the saw. I don't know if it's an electronic until I get it off. Actually, it's a points ignition because I've had it off. But I've got all the bits to finish it, or build it, I should say. So all it really needs is the cylinder shroud lower handle, starter. Doesn't really need a muffler cover, but for that muffler I've got a different, probably the correct muffler cover. It just goes around here like that. Just a little decorative piece. It's got these sort of things on this side of it underneath. It's just a fancier looking Farm Boss type deal. Clutch cover it came with, it's still got the front stud, bar stud in it. It's probably sitting here somewhere. But yeah, just the little haul from Fred. That's not all there's still one I haven't mentioned yet. I've got a top cover for my Hot Rod MS 170. 029039 starter for my ported, we'll call it 039. It's got an MS 310 engine in it, ported finally, because I only had a early Pharmatech, very early Pharmatech MS 290 390 starter. You can actually grab the whole unit and bend it. It does the job, but if the saw doesn't want to start, then you'll break something. So finally got OEM starter for that. And the last but not least, part saw. I hope this turns out right. It's a 621 John Surratt. Got it purely for the bottom end. Smooth as glass. I'm turning it over, by the way. Mint. No noise whatsoever. All the screws have been robbed out of the AVs. That's no big deal. It does have an 8-pin or tooth 3/8 rim. So there's a possibility it could have been raced. Air filter, there's no flocking left on the wire. This is just a piece of scotch pad zip tied to the filter, but then I think 0708 filter might go in its place. She's got a dirty big Tilly carb, possibly the same size as a 272. It's the same design, just a little bit different. There's no ignition that I can see, no starter. Flywheel nut's been robbed, so I'm guessing the ignition's underneath. It could be like CEV, made in Italy, something. I just got the saw for the bottom end. He said it was badly scored. I've had a look at the piston. There's a bit of carbon scoring on this side. On the piston itself, the rings are look good. There's no screws in the cylinder and everything's just sitting there. Mufflers mint minter than mine. I got one off Paul Zovlis, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, during winter. Purely because I've only got a 630 and a 625. I had a 25 before, but now I got one back. Just because it's an early model saw, but now I've seen one run recently, stock with I think a 16-inch bar and chain, probably square ground knowing the person, and they run pretty good. Mine was seized. I'll just tell you all this story. Just because mine was seized. I do what I normally do if it's bottom end seizure. Squirt whatever lubricant spray you got. In my case, I put some two-stroke down the plug hole. Sprayed some of this, wasn't exactly this, down the carb, let it sit for a bit, probably an hour. Took the side cover off. I got I think a shifter on the nut. Worked it anyway, but I got it free. Tipped the fuel out. Actually, it was completely dry. Put some fuel in it. I made sure it would fire first. A bit of spray. It runs, but it's very noisy. So I got this one because I was just afraid of splitting the cases and not being able to reproduce the gasket. I have a picture of the gasket, but it's on an angle. It's got to be square on to get it right. Pretty much I got this just to save the time of recreating the gasket. Put new bearings in it. If it needs seals, then I'll source seals, which this one must quite possibly need a clutch side seal, because that's where the scoring is on the cylinder. But I'm going to clean it, reassemble, take the screws out of my saw. All the AV screws have been robbed. It's got a good drive cup rim. It's got an 8-tooth rim. I will put a 7 on it. We'll worry about 8s next year. Just see what the ignition is. I dare say it might even be an SEM, I don't know. These are the first type of John Threads I've owned. There's no lead, so it must all be under the flywheel. The kill switch is in the top cover of these. Yep. So that's what I'll do. I'll assemble this with the bits it needs. See how long it will, if I can even clean it up. I reckon I will, because it's not that bad. And check if it runs nice. I'll leave it and run this one and just keep the top, all the good bits off that one for future. But that's why I got it for the bottom end. It's not in any worse a condition than mine. I'll show you if I can get it off. Excuse me. So there you have it. That's everything I got off Fred. So hopefully I can make this one run and leave the other top end for maybe some playing around with. Oh, there's the side cover for the 041 right there, as you can see it. I can't turn the phone on its side because it's in the iPad holder. So there you have it. Just a nice little video for you for today. I know I said 20 minutes, that was 24 minutes ago. But I've got a lot on the go. I've still got a couple of saws of Reese's to finish, then one big one to build. Hopefully all over the Chrissy holidays. The big one might not be. The rest will be finished, hopefully. I've got my Canadian. That was in the three-part series not long ago. Remember how I said it had a broken oiler snapped off right next to the carb? Well, I got a new lever, but I had to remove the flywheel ignition, and case half to get it out to change it. That's the only downside. The gasket has been recreated already. That's the original. It's like baking paper thickness. Excuse me. I have a new one already. This is 0.4 gasket paper, oil jointing paper. I've got oil jointing. That's just your normal brown stuff. I've got some fancy name, good to 400 degrees Celsius. I've used that on base gaskets. I am going to trial them on exhaust gaskets if I can get my hands on some more, because I've already made a stock, filled the stock up on some certain Solo base gaskets. I don't have offcuts big enough to make these, but I can do carb intake. I can do intake gaskets. It's 0.5 mil, which doesn't really matter. But the bearing on the Canadian, this is it. It was nice and crunchy when I got it out, but that's smooth as butter now. The Canadian, she does need a clutch side bearing, but I might do it, I might not. I've got one. Timken 6203-C3. C3 is the application, so it's got to withstand the RPMs. It's probably a bit overkill bearing for the Canadians, because they only do 9,000 whatever they are. Probably 8,500 RPMs, but the C3 is good for 14 and a half or 15,000. I've got a seal. It's a 0.3 or 4 millimeters smaller than the factory one, but because it's rubber and rubber, instead of explaining myself, I'll show you. You saw guys that might even know, I don't know, but I know Craig and Lockie will know. That's your case half. So your ignition and fly will go this side. The seal goes in first, and then the bearing goes against it. So as long as might have to bearing mount or RTV the outer edge of the seal. I don't have the old one here, I don't think. I threw it already. Looks like it. That's rubber. You can't get a steel outer with a... You can't get metal outer and a rubber inner like the three... Where'd that... I had a seal just sitting here. Oh, these... You can't get them like that. I've already asked. So you steel. I thought, looking at these, they're fairly close, but it's the outer that's too small. The inner's the right size, which is no big loss. I've used rubber, full rubber seals before. You know, like your MS 250, 290s, 340 Homelight, they're rubber. The clamshell crank seals. So that's that on the Canadian. I've got to road test the seals. They're quite expensive, $9 each or something, $10 each. You need two, there's 20 bucks. Bearings, I think 25 a pair. So you're already at 50 bucks with bearings and seals. Then you've got the gaskets I'm recreating. Carb kit, you'll have to get the ones off eBay. I do have a bag of OEM ones, but I'm running out of them because of the other saws I'm working on. You know, I probably won't even mention any of this in this video. I might make it 2 videos. I don't even know what time it is. So that, yeah, we'll leave it there. Have a good Christmas. If I don't see you before, I might pop in and do a live. I'm going to be working on something. I've got to get ready, camper trailer ready. Get some odds and ends finished, some saws and that, and go from there. Take care of yourselves. Have a good Christmas, New Year's. There's some big builds planned between now and Easter. So, hope you follow along. Yeah, we'll leave it there. See you on the next one. Hooroo.